Hi guys, what's going on? Welcome to another video. Hope you're all doing well today. So in this video we're going to be talking about my top 5 starter builds for launch, for new players, for people that haven't played much of the game, that are wanting to get into it and just looking for something simple to start off with. I'm not saying this is going to be your endgame build, and I'm not saying that these are the most optimal builds in the world. However, they are good builds, they're good starter builds, they're going to teach you what you need to know, teach you the basics of the game, and I think that's what's important. So I've got 3 DPS, 1 tank and 1 healer build, because some people come in, they want to immediately play the healer or the tank role, so there's definitely a build there for them as well. So first one here, we have swords. We run the Broadsword with a shield. The idea is these are all easy to acquire as well. You have obviously the Hunter Hood with Retaliate and Constitution. Constitution giving a little bit more tankiness and damage. Hunter Hood allowing just that extra defensive. Most players, when they first come in, they're not going to know what to do, but having the defensives there means they're just going to be able to survive things for such a long amount of time. Broadsword is naturally a very, very high single target damage, as well as the fact it gives you extra resistances, makes you even more tanky, even stronger. The shield, obviously the shield isn't ideal, but again, new players aren't going to have access to the artifacts. So definitely the best thing out there. You've got the Assassin Jacket and the Assassin Boots. Again, the Assassin Jacket's another defensive, a little bit more tanky, but also allows you to do a good amount of damage. It gives that 30% damage increase. And then you have the Assassin Shoes, which gives the roll. Now I was kind of debating whether to put the roll in here, just because it seems a little bit too much for new players. Some new players aren't going to be particularly sure if they want that or not, how confident they're going to be in using it, but I've put that in there. You can always swap to the refreshing sprint anyway if you do need that extra cooldown reduction. So yeah, I believe this build's really, really strong. If you're wanting to play that sort of tanky frontliner, you can just walk into a fight. The idea is that you can survive for a really long time. You can do a good amount of single target damage, put pressure on people, and actually you should be able to solo kill people with this build. Moving on then, we have the Fire Mage. Now again, I've kind of gone with simple stuff. I haven't actually put an offhand here because I screwed that up. I was actually just testing to see if this would work, but we start off with the Cleric Cow. Cleric Cow gives the ice block, which means if anything ever gets into a bad situation, you can ice block, and you've got a couple of seconds then just to breathe and think about a situation, how to get out of it. And I think that's really, really good for new players. You then have the Scholar Robe with Speedcaster. Most players that will have played some sort of ranged DPS or caster DPS in any other MMO will understand offensive cooldowns, will understand that you pop them, do lots of damage, and that's exactly what Scholar Robe does. You pop Speedcaster and you pummel out a good amount of damage, and that's a really, really big thing, and I think that's important that it's in this build. We then also have the Cleric Sandals with the energizing sprint, just because you're going to run out of energy pretty quick, and that gives you a way with a bit of mobility to get that energy back. You do run with the Fire Staff. Now you can either use the shield, which adds like 2 different materials on top of everything on as well, or you can use the Tomb of Spells for the increased speed casting. Does a lot more damage, but a little bit less tanky. Again, both good options. So yeah, this is the fire one. For those of you that want to just sit in the back line putting out big numbers, you've got the Pyroblast in here that hits like a truck. It does a lot. People really underestimate it. Definitely a good weapon and underused as well. So yeah, move on then to the bows. Now I wasn't really sure what to use with the bows, but I think this is probably the best that you can get on a new build. So on the bow we're using multi-shot in the queue because new players won't have that poison arrow unlocked. With the bow you typically don't want to be standing there doing the deadly shot, so having the multi-shot gives them a little bit of AoE as well, although you probably won't want to clear with it, but it also gives just instant cast. You can use it in between auto attacks and it's not going to punish you that much. You then have the explosive shot on the W to pair with the E ability on the bow, just to pummel a big amount of damage. Like, you're going to do some of the highest single target damage in the game. You have the defensive on the hood. You have Mercenary Jacket on the chest, on Bloodlust on the Mercenary Jacket on the chest. Again, very, very strong. People sort of, it's not really underrated, people know it's strong, but I think new players can really make advantage of this because they're going to be able to just sit there with Magic Quiver going and pop Bloodlust, and they're going to heal to full very, very quickly, especially if they pop their W, the explosive shots, as well. You then have the Assassin shoes for the cooldown reduction, because most people will just play around the burst windows when they have the magic quiver open. This is probably the hardest to play out of all 5 of the starter builds. However, I don't think it's particularly difficult. There's definitely room for optimization there as well. So yeah, I think this is probably one of, like I said, one of the harder ones. However, if you like just sitting in the back line, taking pot shots at people, like being that archer sort of type, arch type, then yeah, definitely. We then have the healer. So I wasn't really sure with the healer either, to be honest. Holy is definitely easier than nature, so I had that decision made for me, but Great Holy Staff, in my opinion, is the easiest one. You have the Q, which is very, very spammable. The more you spam it, the more you heal. You get mana back. You have the heal on the W, the Holy Blessing on the W, just to increase healing on that target. So it's a very, very simple cooldown. It's not too complex. And you have the E then, which is AoE healing with a knockback. Does quite a lot of healing. It's really, really simple to use. You can always swap, obviously, Holy Blessing into Smite, which gives Holy an ability to actually solo clear as well. That's important for new players to have, because they can do a lot for themselves then. Moving on, then we've got a very, very common setup with the Cleric Cowl, Mage Robe and Cleric Sandals. You've got the Ice Block on the Cleric Cowl, the Frost Armor on the Mage Robe just for another defensive, and the Cleric Sandals just for the Energizing Sprint. And finally, we have the tank setup. So most people will tell you, no, don't do Great Hammer, do Heavy Mace, it's better. For new players, you don't know what to purge, you don't know when are good times to silence, because you don't understand the game completely yet. Whereas Great Hammer has a very, very simple ideology with it. It's stun, heavy slam, slow people, peel for your healer, peel for your casters. Like, it's very, very simple. It's not particularly difficult. If you're landing stuns on your tackle on your E, you're going to be doing a lot. You still do a fair bit of damage with the heavy smash. So yeah, I think Hammer's probably the better one out of the 2 main tanking weapons. Guardian Helmet allows sort of a bit of leeway if you over engage or get caught out. A lot of tanks will just go diving in early on until they understand their limits. Guardian Armor just helps to sort of mitigate that a little bit. Knight's Armor, because Windwall is just such a good ability that pretty much every new player is going to need to learn how it works and how to use it at some point as well. And then you have the Night Boots for the shield charge. Now, I was actually going to swap this to the Rejuvenating Sprint, the heal, but Night Boots works as well. Kind of depends whatever you want to use. Very, very flexible on the tanks. So yeah, guys, these are my sort of top 5 starter builds for basically new players, whether they come in now, whether they come in at launch. There's definitely ways to optimize every single one of these builds, so please don't take this as a, well, these 5 must be the best builds in the game, because they evidently are not. However, they are good builds that most people can come in, use these builds, get used to them very quickly, and work off that. I myself started with this exact build, changing the chest actually. I liked the idea of the old Retaliate. Obviously it wasn't as good then, but basically I had the Assassin Jacket. Other than that, I had exactly the same build. So yeah, it's definitely something that if you understand it, once you understand it, you can start looking at different builds and make it harder. However, right now, stick to these ones if you're a new player, and yeah, I wish you the best of luck. So other than that, guys, thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe below. Tell me what builds you started with. That's an interesting thing. I'm very interested to see that, actually. Tell me what builds that you originally started playing Albion as. Did you go straight into that really hard build, or like I myself, I started playing with bows. Someone that I actually invited me to, the person that invited me to the game actually gave me a full fire set, cloth and fire set, right at the start, and that was something for me that was huge, because I learned how to play fire really early on, and I was playing fire really early on. So yeah, tell me what your first build was. Other than that, guys, thank you for watching, and catch you later. Goodbye.